unlock the full potential of autonomousHPC.
In this video, we're going to look at some file system analytics. In this lab, you can see we have a tiered file system, Flash being the highest performing tier that's available to the newest objects that are immediately going to be used in computation, the nearline SAS providing an intermediate performance and cost tier, and then we aggressively move to tape to control costs, providing over 100x reduction in costs for the Flash tier. You can see it's a relatively good sized file system in this lab. Significant number of files here and growing very rapidly. As a tiered file system, the oldest objects are moved from Flash to nearline SAS down to tape. Some of the summary statistics at the top here give us an idea of the number of days that we can maintain in each of the Flash pools. Obviously, we'd like to maintain a target here. With the current growth, we're not getting those targets, but you can see that in this pool here, we can maintain 10 days of Flash storage, and then we roll out to 53 days of SATA pool. Everything beyond that is into tape. This gives us some summary statistics of how much data we're creating. Currently, we're averaging about 30 terabytes a day and accessing about 43 terabytes a day. Down below here gives us an idea of what's happening over time. So this is about 15 months ago. You can see that we were averaging somewhere between 5, 10, 15 terabyte file creation per week. We peaked over the spring and summer, up into 40 to 45 terabytes a week of new files, and we're stabilizing somewhere around 25 to 30 terabytes of new files per day. So this gives us an idea of what's happening with the growth of our file system. Next, we look at the three mediums that comprise our file system storage. You can see there's a small layer of Flash at the top here. It's a very small layer, but it's enough to support all of the current work that we have to do. The intermediate tier here helps with the research requirement, and the bottom tier here is tape, though this could be also a cloud or S3 object store that reduces overall cost of storing a huge amount of data. Next, we want to look at how each class of storage is available to our users. This specifically is looking at the Flash pool and understanding when was the last time that the data was created or modified in this pool. So let's shorten this up a little bit here, maybe look at the last 3 or 4 months. So during this time, this bottom tier here, this is the 0 to 7 days. This is new data that has come into the file system, and we can see over time that this stays relatively stable, a little bigger over the spring, stays relatively stable. This is data that was created 8 to 15 days ago. And you can see at the top here that as these capacities grow, we start to squeeze out of the Flash pool those objects that are 16 to 30 days old or older. And that's represented here in the storage that we see. So the bulk of the data here in the Flash pool is 7 to 15 days old. Again, we're squeezing down this piece and very little exists beyond that. Same look at the SATA pool. Again, this is by last time of creation. You can see that there's very little of the 7 to 15 day capacity in here, and that's because this class of data is being stored on the Flash system. So now we see the older pieces of data starting to appear in this pool. So this is our 16 to 30 day pool. This is a 31 to 90 day window, right? We're able to store some of this 91 to 180 days based upon policies, and we're seeing some of this content, primarily small files that aren't subject to archive effectively. So moving forward from last modify to create time, we now start to look at the access of our data. So again, we move data from the Flash pool into a SATA pool, and then from SATA pool out to tape. So this gives us an idea of how old is the data that we're able to access from the Flash pool. So most of our access is 7 days or a little bit of the 8 to 15 day window here. Then we start to look beyond that into the long tail of our access, and we can see as we move from the 30 to 90 day window, most of that content can be accessed here from the SATA pool. There's a very small amount of access in the 90 to 180 day window, which gives us high confidence that our archive is effective at the 90 day window. This in the blue here represents access primarily from tape, which known research projects, and we're able to effectively use the archive for long-term research. So the characteristic of stored data that impacts the file system performance the greatest is probably not the capacity, but rather it is the file count, the number of files that we're holding in metadata. You can see in these 4 panels, we're analyzing the file counts of each type of file by size. So you can see that this is a file system comprised of lots of very small files, 16 million files, 4.5 million files. Most of the flash content is very small, and you'll see that's also represented in the nearline SAS content, that it is skewed towards the very small files. So these are the file counts. Down here, it indicates the amount of storage that is in use by each of these file sizes. So what you can see, we have very few files larger than a gigabyte. They take up a significant portion of the file capacity on this medium. The other thing you'll note is that these very small files here, less than 384 bytes, significant number of those, that size, this 384 bytes, doesn't appear in nearline SAS, nor does it appear to take up any capacity. The reason for that is simple, that all these small files are actually stored in the file system metadata, which allows for a single transaction access of very small files. So they don't appear to take up any storage space in the pools, nor are they ever stored in this nearline SAS medium. The last metric we track in the file system analysis is the tape migration status. Tape migration leaves files in 3 states. As they're originally created, they are disk resident, so they only exist on disk. Once they have been on disk for up to 30 days, they become pre-migrated to tape. So that means that they're resident on both disk and tape. And then as we reclaim this disk tier, we leave only a stub on disk, and all the content remains on tape only. You'll notice that new files and files that are created in the flash pool don't get any migration. The migration doesn't start until objects reach the age into the SATA pool, and then you can see that we have all 3 classes of storage here.
Unlock the full potential of your data center with autonomousHPC. Visit us online at autonomousHPC.com for more information.